everyone, and welcome to a special Halloween installment of Plaid Stallion's Toy Ventures. I'm participating in a new tradition here on YouTube and getting together with a group of folks for something called Bleak Sunday. This is a variety of different creators doing a special Halloween treat. Each channel will post a special spooky video today. Topics will include toys, memorabilia, haunted history, visual arts, movie discussion, animation, and storytelling. There will be a link to the playlist below. Seeing as it's a special occasion, and of course my favorite season, I am truly in autumn, I thought it was time to focus on my favorite monster toys of childhood, the Lincoln International Monsters. This is a series of 8-inch action figures that was totally meant to copy figures that came out from Azrak, Hamway, and Mego in 1974, and I will get into that. But as always, let's begin with the backstory. Lincoln was a company founded in 1946 by Arthur Lincoln Laidlaw, whose family had a chain of department stores called Farmers that are still in business to this day. At the time, New Zealand had very stringent trade restrictions on the importation of foreign-made items, especially toys, which meant that you had to produce things domestically. This was the same kind of thing that went on in Mexico, and it produces a lot of variations, which are exciting to toy collectors. The company started out making tin and wooden toys, but eventually they got the molds to the Chatty Cathy doll in the 50s and started working with plastics. In the 1960s, they opened up an office in the United Kingdom and one in Hong Kong. And the purpose of the Hong Kong office was to basically generate enough income to buy some of the machinery and tooling and send it back to New Zealand. They even had a special deal with the government to fly the tooling back to the factory, where they employed over 300 people at their peak. The Hong Kong office offered their creative development department to the trade under the banner of the Lincoln Profit Machine. They made everything. They made toys, they made raincoats. Lincoln didn't actually own a factory in Hong Kong, but their production runs would utilize so many local manufacturers, they could be employing as many as 3,000 people at any one time. A lot of the toys are found under the Lincoln banner, but they also produced toys for companies such as Tall Toys, Jodastar, and Flexitoy. In the 1960s, the company did work with some licenses. They had Batman, Jerry Anderson's Thunderbirds, and Captain Scarlet. However, the company has always been known for having a really cheeky attitude towards copyrights. They even created their own line of Matchbox cars at one point, just copying the artwork, which Lesney did have a problem with. Whammo sued Lincoln as well. When I was researching the company, I spoke to David Veert, who wrote this amazing book about the New Zealand toy industry. And he joked with me that while the Lincoln advertising slogan was, "Boy, oh boy, it's a Lincoln toy," he was fond of saying, "Boy, oh boy, it's someone else's toy." By the 1970s, there wasn't a lot of licensed Lincoln product anymore. They were generally making their own product. Some of it, like the Monsters, were very cheeky, and they were sold all over the world. Australia, Britain, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, South Africa. But oddly enough, I don't think they imported those Hong Kong toys to New Zealand itself. Sometime in the 1970s, Prime Minister Robert Muldoon of New Zealand relaxed those trade restrictions and ended the New Zealand toy industry. They just became importers of foreign-made goods. Lincoln International closed their offices around this time. They changed their name to Lincoln Play Corp, and they started bringing in, believe it or not, Mego stuff. That's some of the rarest Mego stuff you'll find, but it does have the Lincoln International logo. Lincoln would fold in 1985 after 39 years in the toy business. Its founder would live a very long life. He passed away in 2014. Initially released in 1975, there were 4 characters in the first series: Count Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. Now, Mr. Rock was also in the original US assortment, and I love Mr. Rock, and I do consider him part of the Lincoln Monsters, but I have done a very comprehensive video on Mr. Rock. I'll put the link here, and I'm just going to focus on the monster line right now. In 1976, I guess the line was a hit, and two new characters were added in the form of the Phantom of the Opera and the Hunchback of Notre Dame. There are some noticeable differences with these characters. First of all, their packaging bears a copyright, which the original four do not. Second of all, they do not have the monster claw hands. They have the Mr. Rock style body, or the Thrill Seekers, what have you, and they have normal human hands. The entire run of 6 figures was famously placed in the 1976 Montgomery Ward's catalog for one of the most memorable catalog pages of all time. I'm very grateful this exists because I was spending so much time trying to track down these figures, and this page really was my gateway drug. I think I found it around 18 years old, and I became obsessed with this image and tracking these old friends down. This is one of the reasons I'm here doing this today. The 1975 Spiegel department store catalog added a new character to the line in the form of Girl Victim. That's seriously what she's called. Girl Victim is a 6.5-inch figure wearing some very dated, even for 1975, clothing. That's because she's a clone of a Dawn doll. Dawn was a popular line by Topper Toys that was discontinued about 2 years earlier. Lincoln had created a clone called Maud Miss a few years earlier, and I honestly think this is just thrown in. It is not intentionally made for the monsters, but, the Spiegel department store buyer probably wanted something unique and special, so they threw her in. Maybe she was overstock. You have to question the logic of it, however, because this got Aurora in a lot of trouble about 5 years earlier when they created a victim for their Monster Scene series. They tried to rebrand her as Dr. Deadly's daughter, but the backlash from the National Organization for Women led to a recall of the models, and they were actually dumped in Canada. Lucky us. The victim is quite rare and hard to find. However, a lot of collectors I know simply don't feel that she belongs in their collection, and I completely understand that. I had to have her, but that's me. There are 3 distinct releases of the Lincoln Monsters, and some very interesting variation. The first series are we call the A series. These were released, we believe, in 1975 and 1976. They were similar worldwide. The figures that we believe were offered after, so around 1977, seem to be exclusive to the UK. And there are a lot of variations to these figures. You can see that the quality of the clothing is different, and the head sculpts look a little more opaque. When it comes to packaging, there are several variations, and this would be near impossible to collect them all, I've got to tell you. First off, we have the A cards. These are the first series cards, and they are pretty much the same from 75 to 76. Then you have the B cards. The B cards look like they're actually copied of the A cards. Like when they did this run, they lost the original artwork, maybe because they kept switching factories. Lincoln did not own its own factory, of course. The differences are quite subtle, but you can tell that one is a copy of the other. The solid boxes are a bit of a mystery. They seem to have come out in 1976. You mainly find these in the United Kingdom, however, some have surfaced in the US, so not sure how they got distributed. All 6 of the monsters were released in these solid boxes, and they are some of the hardest items to find. In Canada, general merchandise distributor P.K. Douglas, still in business, imported the monsters into their Valiant brand. And the cards are unique because they released them in Canada's official languages, both English and French. This Lincoln International Hunchback is the only one I've ever owned. I wish I hadn't sold it. If you have this and would like to sell it back to me, I would like to talk to you. The Lincoln Monster figures swipe from the best. The hands that are on 4 of the figures, the Dracula, Mummy, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman, well, they're copied from the Aurora Plastics Wolfman model. The outfits are definitely meant to mimic the Azrak Hamway super monsters. There's so many similarities, it's actually pretty funny. And if you look at the box for Frankenstein, someone has tried to copy Gray Morrow's amazing package for the Mego Mad Monsters Frankenstein. I think this is kind of hilarious. This is about as good as I would do copying Gray Morrow. My personal history with these figures is the fact that my parents actually sold and distributed these. I remember it like yesterday. We went on a buying trip. Parents often brought me along because, they're self-employed people, to a place called P.K. Douglas. And that was the importer of the Lincoln Monsters in Canada. I didn't understand where we were. I thought we were in a store, and I saw that Frankenstein sitting on a table with a tag, and I said to my dad, I need that Frankenstein. I thought it was a Mego Frankenstein, to be honest with you. And he said, okay. And then we left, and I said, why didn't I get the Frankenstein? And they said, well, we bought a skid of them. We're going to sell them. So about a week later, I'm at my dad's office, and a big skid arrives, and I open it up, and there are all these monster dolls in there. I didn't realize it was a series. And I played with them a lot as a kid. To me, they were Hammer figures. They were also used to play the Monster Squad with. When they broke, I would just go back to my dad's warehouse and get another one. I remember that Dracula started to become kind of scarce, and I had to really look around for another one because, they do fall apart. They are kind of cheap. So these are, like, second to none, my favorite monster toys of all time. The Lincoln Monsters would somewhat reappear in new formats from Tomland Toys. One of these days I'll figure out the relationship between Lincoln and Tomland. I have some theories. I will put a link to my Tomland Monsters video right here so you can check them out. Lincoln Monsters are really pricey to collect, and honestly, they have been since about the 1990s. They were always the harder to find than other monster lines. There was a brief find of them where a woman in the UK found a couple cases from her grandfather. However, that find dried up 16 years ago. There's more collectors looking for them than the figures are available. Thus begins a pricey collectible. I want to talk about some creators who are having fun and keeping the Lincoln legacy alive. First of all, Brent's Dolls. This is a guy I've known for a very long time, and he started creating these micro runs of niche 8-inch action figures, and a lot of them are based on toys that are very pricey or near impossible to own at times. They are not exact duplicates, and they're very easy to differentiate from a vintage toy, but they retain a lot of the charm of the original Lincoln Monsters. He's done all 6 of the Lincoln Monsters, and they're super fun. He's also done the Tomland Monsters and created a few fantasy creations based on them. I'll put a link to his Facebook page below, but yeah, Brent's doing wonderful, charming things. The other gentleman is named Alexander, and he's an artist out of Germany. And while he doesn't do copies of the Lincoln Monsters, he does something that I really love. He's created his own monsters in that style. I'm glad Alexander is on the side of good because his stuff is so amazing you'd swear it was real. He makes everything, the bodies, the cards, the costumes, and you'd swear these were vintage Lincoln International figures you did not know about. I especially love this one based on Creature of Destruction. I mean, how many bits of Larry Buchanan movie merchandise are we ever going to get? I will put a link to Alexander's amazing Facebook page in the description. Bring money. These things are awesome. I think one of the most appealing things, and probably why they're so collectible, is the unique look of the Lincoln Monsters. These do not really look like universal characters. These seem to be these are very stylized creatures, and they do look like a kid drew them. There's just something so amiable about the Wolfman's smile and the blood on the mummy's face and the blue eye bags on Dracula. They're just wonderfully cartoony and well-designed. I hope you've enjoyed my look at the Lincoln International Monsters. If you want to learn more, you can visit our website or pick up issue 3 of Toy Ventures magazine for our guide to the Lincoln Monsters. This is the most comprehensive thing I've ever written about this subject. And of course, I hope you will check out Bleak Sunday's hashtag. There's some really cool stuff going on. I know that's how I'm going to spend the rest of my Sunday. Also, please look out for a special live stream this Halloween, next Sunday. I'm going to be making an announcement of a new publication I have not talked about before. I think it's going to be exciting. I hope to do an unboxing if I get it in time. I would love it if you could join me. If you're looking to buy, sell, or trade, or just talk about Lincoln Monsters, I highly recommend our Facebook group, Mego Knockoff HQ. It is a large gathering of like-minded individuals, and we definitely love talking about Lincoln. That's all for this week, folks. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're new to this, please consider hitting like and subscribe. Until next time, talk toys, not others, and have a very spooky Sunday, won't you?